Thank you for watching WTOL 11 Your Day. Why do things have to change? Just when we get accustomed to doing something one way, we have to do it another. Love it or hate it, like social media. Kevin Caesar from Thread Marketing joins us this morning to talk about some new trends with social media. Good morning. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning, Amanda. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. First of all, let's talk about Facebook and Meta. What was that? What happened?
Well, what happened? So are you using Facebook as much as you used to? Probably not.
No, probably not. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Facebook is trying to fix declining growth and slow ad revenue. So what they tried to do was pivot to Meta. They're building the metaverse. They announced it in October of last year. Meta means beyond in Greek. So they're building this wonderful metaverse, but they need, in order to build that, they need a viable Facebook. So in January, first ever quarterly decline for Facebook daily users. They went from 193 billion to 192.
Wow.
Now that seems like a rounding error, right? It's like, what's the big deal with that?
Yeah.
But it sent their stock plunging, and we'll talk about that. So was it ever beloved with you? Was Facebook ever beloved in the same way that Coke or McDonald's or Nestle, those big brands are?
You know,
we love those brands.
I was in college when Facebook came out, and it was only available to college students, and I really resisted. My college roommates were all on it, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that. And then when I got into my first job a few years later, that's when I joined Facebook, and I was able to connect with a lot of my friends from college, you know, a lot of people from my childhood, and I did love it. I thought it was great that I was reconnecting with people, but I will say that I truly am not, I use it a lot of times for work, to connect with viewers and so on, which is great, but overall, I would say I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah.
So well, it is that love-hate thing.
They've also had some self-forced errors that have contributed to their kind of decline. Cambridge Analytica, you remember that, where they had the data breach? That was bad. Whistleblower leaks, talking about how they monitor users, reselling customer data, little things like that. And then we can just begin to get into the massive censorship of some information. And at the same time, there's a lot of odd things on Facebook, purely because they lack the bot languages to monitor in different languages. They're really good at monitoring and censoring and reducing content in English, but not so much in other languages. And so they have a lot of problems. They're not a beloved brand like Coke or McDonald's or Nestle's. Yeah. It's just the way it is.
Yeah. So we know that they had a bad January.
They had a really bad January.
Yeah. And was that the case for just Facebook or other social media as well?
It was for a lot, but what happened in Facebook, they were building up to build the metaverse. They were buying Instagram for $1 billion and WhatsApp in 2014 for $16 billion, and buying Oculus, the VR headset goggles, to build toward the metaverse. But in January, in one fell swoop, they lost $200 billion. That's 23% in value for Facebook in one day. And the reasons for that are the earning estimate was low, so that happened. iPhone changed their privacy policy, and so Facebook won't be able to reuse as much data, and that's probably going to cost them about $10 billion a year. And then that daily user decline was significant. And so those three factors contributed to a $200 billion loss in one fell swoop.
We're looking at other social networks that have been popular, but we know that, you know, Facebook didn't do great. Twitter's going down. Some other ones are doing a little bit better, right? Like TikTok and Instagram.
Well, I would say those are the only two that did better as far as user growth and as far as stock value. But Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, LinkedIn, Spotify all had significant declines. So Facebook makes about $80 billion in revenue, and about $40 billion of that comes from the U.S. and Canada. And the U.S. and Canada are only 10% of their users. And so that's where a lot of their user drop-off came, and that's the significant part, because those users are relatively more affluent than the rest of the world, and so their data, which is then resold, is more valuable. What category do you think was the only demographic category for Facebook to grow last year?
Older folks.
Plus 55.
Yeah.
Was the only, everything else dropped off except for plus 55.
All right.
And 42% of U.S. teens who use Facebook, only 2% of them would choose Facebook as their favorite app. So they may use it because their teachers are using it or something else, but that really says a lot. If you're not grabbing that cohort, that's your future.
All right.
So Facebook, very wildly popular, or Meta is wildly popular. It made $40 billion in profit last year, but it lost $10 billion on the AR, on research into Reality Labs and the VR software. Do you have a VR headwear set yet, Amanda?
I don't, Kevin.
I don't, and I don't see you wearing one for TV, so that's good.
Yeah, so I think the future here is going to be real interesting, and of course we're going to keep in tabs with you. I know you'll be keeping tabs on that, and we'll see what they do to see if they can turn it around.
So that is the biggest problem. They just need Facebook to be viable in order to fund the metaverse going forward. And so we're not seeing that right now, but we'll keep an eye on it and we'll let you know where it goes.
Sounds good. Kevin, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Amanda.
Yeah, you bet. Take care. Thank you for making Toledo's only live local 9 a.m. show part of this Wednesday. Your day will be right back.